This first concept is called the golden box, and right here I'm talking about the first pentatonic fingering that I learned, that most of you have probably already learned. If you haven't learned it, I'm going to teach it to you. The important thing here is that so many amazing solos have been played out of just this one fingering. There's no reason you can't make a gold record just knowing this one fingering. It's all about the licks that you play. How do you approach it? What are the articulations? Are you playing in time and in tune? Do you have a decent vibrato? All of these things. So I'm just going to cover that basic scale, how to practice it, and then I'm going to look at this basic set of articulations, bends, hammer-ons, pull-offs, etc. That's what we're talking about right now. So real quickly, the scale in question, I'm going to be in B minor, and the scale itself is right here. It's on the 7th position, starting with the root B, and then I'm going to play the whole scale. The notes are B, D, E, F sharp, A, B, D, E, F sharp, A, B, D. So it's a 5-note scale, and we're getting 2 octaves out of it. The first octave is here. The second octave is here. And we even get a couple bonus notes. So that's the fingering we're working on right now. And what I want to look at, I'm going to do some exercises. I'm just going to talk about what they are in turn. First, we're just going to play the scale, just like I showed you, using alternate picking. We're going to make sure we play it cleanly, we play it in time, we're not bending notes out of tune, etc. Then we're going to look at hammer-ons and pull-offs. And the exercise for that is going to be, the idea is that you want to get your hammer-ons and your pull-offs to be at the volume you want them at, which is typically the same volume as your pick notes. Those are my hammer-ons. Now you'll notice when I'm playing this scale, I make choices about if I'm going to play this note with my pinky or my third finger. I wholeheartedly encourage you to make your own choice about that. If you play that note on the right side of the scale with your pinky or your third finger, or even your second finger, it doesn't really matter. But we're playing this side of the scale with our first finger. And the other side. So let's look at the tools that we have at our disposal. Number one is just your hand synchronization when you play. And for that, we're going to do a metronome exercise where we just play the scale with the metronome using alternate picking. The next thing that you have are hammer-ons and pull-offs. And you can practice that a number of different ways. But essentially what we're looking for is to get a sufficient volume out of our hammer-ons and pull-offs such that they are not noticeably different than our pick notes unless we want them to be. So a hammer-on, as you may know, is when you use the pressure of your finger in order to play a note. So instead of picking both notes, I can hammer on the second note. And I can play the whole scale that way. A pull-off is when you use the finger, use a sideways motion from your finger on the right side of the scale to pull off in order to play a note on the left side of the scale without picking. Then you have a hammer and pull, and so that's which can become a trill if you do it very quickly, and that's like this. Okay, so we've got hammer-ons, we've got pull-offs, we've got a hammer pull. If you want to get into the advanced stuff, we have the hammer-on from nowhere. That's where you hammer on to a string you haven't played a note on yet. Okay, so there you're seeing I'm starting to combine the elements. I'm using a hammer on to a string that I haven't plucked a note on, and then I'm using that to pull off. You get to a point where you can pick less and less notes, and you can come up with some pretty cool licks where you're picking as few notes as possible. And it's a choice. And the main thing here is that we're going to work on these exercises so that you have the choice about how you articulate, how you use hammers, pull-offs, etc. Okay? The next thing we're going to look at is bending. Bending on the scale is super important. We're going to look at right now just bending from the right side of the scale. Really on just the top 3 strings for right now. And we're going to start right here. So when you bend, you want to make sure that you bend in tune. So from here, the note we're bending to is here. Then from here, the note we're bending to is here, or here, and you want to check it. Then from here, we're bending to here. So we're just looking at those 3 points of bending. And you just have to make sure that you have the control to bend them in tune. And if you don't bend them all the way to the next in tune note, you need a reason. And because a lot of the lead playing in rock is based on blues, we're going to be bending all the way through the middle there, and it's going to be stylistically appropriate for you to not quite make it to the note sometimes. But again, it needs to be a choice, not something that's a limitation of your skills. So we're going to do some metronome studies to look at the bending as well. So let's get into these metronome exercises. So the first exercise we're going to do is just playing that scale straight up and straight down, picking every note over the metronome. Next one you're going to do is playing the entire scale from the bottom to top and back down, using hammer-ons on the way up and pull-offs on the way down. In the next exercise, we're going to play the note we want to hit, and then we're going to bend to it. So we're practicing our bending. Play the note we want to hit, and then we bend to it. Here we go. All right, so that's how to practice this basic box with the pentatonic scale and looking at the articulations and your bending. And those fundamentals are going to come into play throughout all the lessons in the course.